President-elect Donald Trump has been busy the last few weeks nominating candidates to join his cabinet and making some other key picks.
While many names are expected to get Senate confirmation, several of the picks have come with controversy. And joining us to talk about the shape of the next administration, North Central Michigan College political science professor Scott LaDeur. Welcome back, Scott.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Look at that weather up in
I know. Why we all can't have the beautiful, constant autumn of Petoskey.
Yes. Yeah, you were telling us during the commercial that you were out shoveling to make that look good, and I also appreciate how you glued all the leaves back on the trees.
Yeah.
You know, it's I have a background in art as well, so
there it is.
I know what I'm doing.
Fair enough. Well, Scott, talk to us about your takeaways from the past couple of weeks. What do you think are the biggest and maybe some of the most important picks? I mean, there's obviously the full cabinet and then some other picks within the administration, U.S. ambassadors, but what are the key takeaways that you see?
I think that stepping back from it is how quickly this cabinet, these nominations have come together. 8 years ago, when President-elect Trump was entering his first term, he really didn't have a big background in government, didn't have a lot of knowledge around individuals who might serve in his government. But now these announcements, a lot of them being made before Thanksgiving, is only 3 weeks or so after the election. So that shows, I think, that Trump has a mind of who he wants. He's had names and lists and ideas and is moving through them. So the rapidity of these nominations, to me, is one of the big takeaways. I think cabinets always reflect kind of coalitional bargaining, and even though Donald Trump has definitely put his stamp on the Republican Party, you still see with some of these picks nods to other parts of the party. So you look at someone like the former Attorney General nominee, Matt Gaetz, who withdrew after it became clear that the Senate wasn't going to approve him, is kind of a figure more of an embodiment of kind of the Make America Great Again movement and President Trump's, supporters. Whereas you look at people like the Treasury Secretary nominee, people at like the Interior Department, and these people are more kind of traditional Republicans, right? He retained one of his main economic advisors that he named to the same post he named 8 years ago. And so he's still trying to balance some of these factors in the party. But mostly what's interesting is how he's trying to but how he's signaling conventional approaches to the economy rather than going with nominees who might be a little bit more in line with his pro-tariff visions and with trying to make fundamental changes to the economy. But he's really trying to signal to Wall Street kind of stability, continuity, and maybe not full gas on the tariffs as he was talking about during the campaign. But other parts of the cabinet much more in line with like the Make America Great Again movement. So he's still trying to balance these things, and that's something I've taken away over the last couple weeks.
Now, there's already been a great deal of controversy. You mentioned Matt Gaetz just a bit ago withdrawing his name from consideration for the Attorney General. There's also Patel, recently named the head of the FBI, an individual who has been quoted saying he wants to use the FBI to go after their enemies. There's a lot of controversy with some of these picks, and some may be a difficult road to confirmation. So how do you see this going leading up to when they take office and the new administration takes over?
Yeah, the confirmation process in the Senate is going to be an early indicator as to how this Republican Congress, and very importantly, this Republican Senate, how they're going to chart their path vis-a-vis President-elect Trump. And so you saw Gaetz withdraw after it became clear he wasn't going to get Senate confirmation. I'd be stunned if all of these nominees got confirmed as is. My guess is there's going to be a few more that probably withdraw maybe after senators meet these people or background checks are concluded or investigations or other things or, financial disclosures have to be made. I don't see all of these getting confirmed. Some of them are fairly controversial. Pete Hegseth to be Secretary of Defense, and I think Kash Patel at the FBI is going to be a bit of a lift, and we're just going to have to watch how this goes. I assume that I believe that many of them are going to be confirmed, no problem. But I think there's going to be a handful that are going to be a heavy road. With only 53 Republican senators, a nominee could only lose 4 Republican votes, assuming that all Democrats vote against them.
So Scott, I want to make sure we get time to ask you about the pardon of Hunter Biden too. So we've only got 2 minutes left. Give me a 1 minute response, if you would, just to the notion of recess appointments and how that might work if the Senate goes into recess. Maybe address the fact that it's not unheard of; it has been done before.
Yeah,
it has. Yeah, it has been done before. It'd be quite a step away from precedent and the norm, as the Senate and the House. Or the Senate would have to agree to go into recess. Up until about 10 years ago, the Senate would do this fairly normally, but about 10 years ago, they started just having sessions every third day if they were out of town, so that they could claim that they were never in recess. If the Senate chose to go into recess, so the president could make a recess appointment to an executive branch position, that would be a big departure, as the Senate would essentially be saying, we choose to abandon our advise and consent rules, powers given to us by the Constitution. So that would be quite something. I don't believe they will do so.
All right, in the final minute here, the news from Sunday into Monday here was Joe Biden pardoning his son Hunter, not just for the crimes, the gun crime and the tax crime in Delaware and California respectively, but any and all crimes dating back 10 years, which kind of raises some red flags about what was going on at that time when he was serving on a board of a Ukrainian gas company. His dad, Joe Biden, was vice president 10 years ago. Give us your take on that in the final minute here, Scott.
I think the biggest takeaway here is where we go from here, and the precedent that might be being set. During the campaign, President-elect Trump said that he would be open to using the pardon power to pardon January 6th the defendants or other people that he claimed were victims of a weaponized Justice Department or federal government. And now with the president's pardon of his son, the president made in a statement Sunday night saying that part of the reason why he was doing this is he believed his son was unfairly prosecuted. Now, there's arguments on all sides, and multiple things can be true at the same time. However, what President-elect Trump can now say is that he will use the pardon power in a similar way that President Biden did, and thus latching on to a precedent created by President Biden. And President-elect Trump can say, it's not my decision, I'm just following the precedent of my predecessor. I think that's the biggest takeaway from that news over the weekend, is where this leaves us and where we go from here.
Excellent.
Great insight, yeah.
Scott, really appreciate your time as always. Scott LaDeur from North Central Michigan College. Now that we're done with the interview, you can throw the snow back on the ground behind you.
Right. Well, it's still snowing now, so I got to go get the shovel.
Okay, good. Get some rest, Scott. Get some rest.
Thank you, sir. Good to talk to you again.